What's up, everybody, and welcome in to another edition of the Sit Down. As always, if you enjoy this video, please make sure you hit that like button and let me know what you think of today's discussion in the comment section below. If you're new around here, you just haven't done it yet. We're living on a rocket seeing this video for the first time. I don't know what you're waiting for. Hit that subscribe button below now so you never miss another Sit Down video. Also, if you like our crime content, please make sure you check us out on Instagram at the Sit Down Crime Pod. Today's video is powered by Profit X. If you are like me and you like wagering on football, baseball, whatever else, in the pinned comment of this video, go get an account, deposit, get involved with Profit X now. You're going to get some of the best odds in the business. Great, sleek app, easy to use. And people in Texas, California, Alabama, Alaska, places that don't have legalized sports betting, Profit X is available to you. It is a sports prediction exchange, and it allows you to wager right now. Get the best odds in the business. Click the link in the pinned comment. Get yourself an account and sign up now. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get into another interesting but drama-filled organized crime topic. Again, YouTube is buzzing over the last several days after a story had come out at the San Gennaro Feast. It involved former mobster and alleged Philadelphia crime boss, Skinny Joey Merlino. We know that Joey, over the last year plus, has been involved in a cheesesteak restaurant in South Philadelphia at Broad and Pollock Streets. Skinny Joey took his talents to San Gennaro, though. There's been all sorts of talk about Hootie Russo. Joey's not allowed to go there anymore, all that sort of thing. Today, we're going to right some wrongs, and we're going to address the continued lies of people like Scott Burnstein. This has gotten out of hand. Enough is enough. The story of Joey Merlino, San Gennaro, and the Hootie Russo assault next on the Sit Down. Now, I'm not going to go through, again, blow by blows of what happened here. What we know, though, is over the last several months, a year or so, Gene Borrello, who we all know, has been going back and forth with Joey Merlino. Now, I do want to make this clear. I'm going to talk about the San Gennaro. I'm going to talk about how you have to get approved for a stand there. There's all this talk that people can't go there now, all that crap. I'm going to read this ridiculous post Scott Burnstein put out. Listen, I don't want to be this guy, okay? But again, as about a 2% journalist, I think it's important that we address some of the things that are said in this genre. And it almost seems like, Scott, you live in a fantasy world where things come to your head and you just put them out. Where are you getting this shit? And remember, Scott, you were the same guy that reported a couple of months ago that Joey was shelved. Why would the Mafia care about Joey Merlino if he was shelved? Does that make any sense? So what is it, Scott? Is he shelved? Is he not shelved? What is it? But I want to discuss the situation. So Joey has been going back and forth with Gene. And on Saturday last weekend, I will point out, and this was wrong, and Joe Snuff and Joey should explain themselves here. They spent most of the day, teasing and heckling Hootie. Where is Hootie? Hootie's going to show up. He's late. He ain't going to come. Da-da-da-da-da. So, and I give him credit. I don't really understand why, and it's kind of a crash dummy type of thing. But Hootie, who, yes, did cooperate, but he's still a man, he decided to go. And he went by himself, and he went up to Mulberry and Kentmere, and he saw the crew hanging out there, and then chaos ensues. From what I've heard from multiple sources, not just one or two, multiple people that were there, that had been there all day, Hootie, like most people, was ganged up on. He got beat up. There's a reason he sat in the dark on a stream. There's a reason he was crawling under opposing stands. He lost his phone. Didn't work real well out for him. But he went, and that was that. I will point out, and this is wrong, and he should address this. Joe Snuff, you were nowhere to be found in this. Okay, you can't heckle the guy all day and then you know where to be found. I get I think this is where the old adage is fuck around and find out. This is what happens. And we've all been there, Joe Snuff. It's not like you'll be the first, you'll not be the last. We've all said things, and then real life comes to us. There's more, and some of these people don't just live on the internet. Real life is important, and it comes up sometimes. And say what you want about Hootie. I mean, he was offended by this. Now, people will heckle him for getting beat up or whatever. I mean, that happens. I mean, it was 1 against 5 or 6 probably. That said, some of the things that have come out since then have been completely ridiculous. Now, for anyone that's not aware, when you get a stand at San Gennaro, okay, you have to be approved. Okay, San Gennaro is not some like rinky-dink operation that people just under the table pay to get into and that's it. No, there's a board that's like city run and they approve people and that sort of thing. And again, there have been a lot of mob involvement over the years. I mean, back in the 90s and 2000s, Perry Criscitelli was the head of the San Gennaro company. He was a Bonanno soldier, and Giuliani got a lot of flack for that because he had said the mob was out of the San Gennaro Feast. We know that the Genovese crime family, through a person called Tommy Sestaro, was involved with the San Gennaro Feast. Genoveses have had their hands in it for years. I mean, it is their territory really down there. We know that the Gambino crime family has had their involvement over the years there. I've heard some rumors about a certain Gambino member doing some things at the feast this year and getting arrested for it. So there's still involvement with the mob. We know that, and we've talked about this, it's common knowledge, the Cannoli King, what's his name? Baby John DeLutro. He's a reputed member of the mafia. He has a stand. He has a fucking restaurant there. So what I'm essentially trying to say is when you get a stand there, okay, you have to pay a certain amount of money to operate there for the length of the feast. That goes to a fund, and whatever you make is yours. Okay. Now understand, Skinny Joey's is no different than anywhere else. They have to get approved. Okay. And it's not like it's called Joe's Steaks, where Joey can mask himself and find a way to get in there. Everybody knew he was going to be there, and he was approved to be there. Okay, so when you idiots say things like, "Oh, he's not supposed to be there," and the mob is mad at him. Let's read this ridiculous article that Scott Burnstein put out. Now, I'm gonna flash it on my screen. It's from another site that posted it, so have a problem with them if you want to have a problem over it. This is obviously just a synopsis from everything here. So I'm going to place this on the screen and I'm going to read. Per Scott Burnstein's exclusive sources and reporting, following a brawl at the San Gennaro Festival in New York City between Philadelphia faction members, associates, and affiliates, and Gene Borrello's social media ally, Hootie Russo, on Saturday, leadership of the Bonanno and Gambino families got together on Sunday and are expected to meet again soon to discuss what went down and any ramifications for Philadelphia. Bernstein's same sources also assert that the Genovese family leadership is so irate about the situation that it won't meet with anybody regarding Merlino, the faction involved, and further alleging isn't recognizing the family at present because appeared things are out of control. Bernstein further claims, and that's what they are, claims, that there has been chatter amongst the sources of another embargo on dealing with Philly, and at present, the Bonanno, Gambino, and Genovese organizations allegedly occurred when Merlino started podcasting and being active on social media. Scott, what is this, the fucking United Nations? We're doing embargoes and we're putting sanctions on people. What the hell are you talking about, Scott? Let me ask you something. Do you really think he would have got a stand if that was the case? If Genovese crime family hierarchies are incensed over this, the Gambinos are incensed over this, What do you think? You would have given him a stand? You think so, Scott? And I know you're going to respond with, he's not the real owner. I'm aware of who the real owner is, Scott. And trust me, those types of people, it's called skinny Joeys. You didn't think he was going to show up there? So let me ask you, you think that they were going to give his owner a stand and he just wouldn't show up? He's the face of the fucking place. If they didn't want him there and there was an embargo and they don't want to deal with him or expect what they were going to have to deal with him, they wouldn't fucking given him the stand, Scott. You have to be approved. Where do you come up with this shit? And by the way, Scott, as I said, you were the same person that just months ago claimed that Joey Merlino was shelved. Why the fuck would they even care if that was the case? And Scott, what you don't know is, and I don't want to be the one to say this, but I will. A lot of gangsters go to the feast and notice there were no issues. Sure, they went and got a cheesesteak, Scott. If Joey Merlino wasn't allowed at the feast, he wouldn't be at the feast. And yeah, some of the things he does, I'm sure they probably aren't fans of. But I'm sure there's a lot of things they do that he's not fans of. I can't, in the respect that I have, I can't, not for me, myself, but just for some certain people that I speak to, I'm not going to talk about some of the things that I hear, okay? Because I'm not going to be like you. I'm not going to put stuff out there like that. I know people can say what they want about me. I don't generally want to see people go to prison. If you commit a crime, you're involved in an indictment, you're going to go to prison. That's on you. And that's fair game. But I'm not going to speculate on what these people do if there's no paperwork on it. You do that, I don't. That's one of the reasons I don't talk to you no more. Because you try to dig up things that aren't there. You try to say people that had whole court at cheat. That ain't right, man. You shouldn't say stuff like that. And I've talked to you about that before. I mentioned that to you. I've talked about that publicly. But Scott, this is not the first time you've done this. You've blatantly talked about people. I remember you did an article a couple of years ago that Jackie knows D'Amico. That Jackie knows, the guy that used to be with John Gotti. You did an article that he was a liaison and went to Sicily on behalf of the Gambino crime family. You do know, Scott, that at that point he was like literally blind and never left the house. And for you, it's, well, a source told me. Some guy emailed you and told you that, so you just took it and ran with it. Enough is enough with this shit. I mean, it's crazy. I'm going to tell you now, the reason Joey Merlino is not at the feast right now is because, from what I understand, he didn't really want to go to the feast. I'm sure like there'd be better things he'd rather do, but he's got a business and he's trying to have success with it. And I don't know if you've noticed, but it's continued to operate all week. People have continued to show up. Celebrities continue to go to it. Scott, I'll tell you how it would be if, what do you think would happen if you went to the feast? Who do you think would have a better time there, you or Joey Merlino? And if you would go, you would see what would happen. They wouldn't treat you well. If I went, they wouldn't. I'm sure they'd throw shit at me. There are certain people that don't like what I do, and that's okay. But trust me, Scott, if they didn't want him there, he wouldn't be there. Just like the Rayos thing. He can't go to Rayos. He went to Rayos. I'll tell you this, Scott. I bet you can't go to Rayos. I bet I'd have a tough time going to Rayos. Why do you think that is, Scott? There's a reason for that. There's a reason, Scott, that I can't walk around San Gennaro. There's a reason you can't walk around San Gennaro. There's a reason why I can't go to Howard Beach without security. I'm not stupid. I get what I do. There are people that don't like me. And it's not the fact that I'm scared of the mob. There are people that don't like what I do, and I'm not going to pick at them. I'm not going to go to their area and break balls. I'm not going to do that. But some of this stuff is just crazy. And listen, I have heard Gene's show. Gene has, look, I don't think it's any secret. Gene and I have had our differences over the years. I've told him many times, I think what he's doing is absolutely reprehensible. I don't think it's right. I think it's completely fucked up. And I think, to be fair, Gene's gotten off pretty easy with this. Gene has said some vile shit about family members of Joey. It's not right to me. You know, he has platformed people that have said stuff. But the whole, like, these people can't go to listen, like I said, and let's just say, Scott, you're right. Joey can't go to San Gennaro, or there's embargoes or what. Like, what does that even mean? Embargoes on what? What are we embargoing on? What is this, the fucking port? And certain people can't come into the port. We're no longer doing business with them as a country. These are half mob family. The five families, Scott, are not what you think they are. I think you think that they're like some, gigantic criminal organization. They're in the shadows. They do what they do, and that's that. I think the way you fantasize about the mob is just a little bit ridiculous. I don't. That said, an event like this, are they involved? Sure. Are they at the level they used to be involved? No, because there's oversight against it now. Do they maybe make a couple of dollars? Sure. But let's just say you're right and they're pissed off. What do you think? They'd be able to continue to operate there? They would continue to be there all week? Let me read a little bit more here. Finally, Burnstein notes for several months, Merlino, via his podcast and YouTube channel, run by Russo and former Bonanno associate Gene Borrello, have repeatedly attacked one another, which almost certainly contributed to the fight that occurred at the festival this past weekend. Of note, the brawl occurred in front of a food stand set up by Merlino, where he was serving cheesesteaks. Now, let's read some of the comments associated with this, because I think they're actually pretty interesting. One guy responds, "This is nonsense. They came to them, a known informant looking for a fight, and was given one. Obviously, whoever this, quote, source is, has no idea. Because if they didn't do anything to a known rat informant at that feast and allowed him to walk free and make them look like fools, then there would be issues. This write-up is backwards, Scott." Another person. "So Joey gets a booth. The booth comes from Joe Blow. Nope. Joey and his restaurant and group are paying to have a booth." Exactly. Hootie comes in and causes this issue. Genovese and Gambino family are upset. They pull the plug on the booth for Joey and his group. Nope. Joey and his group are still selling cheesesteaks. Exactly. Another good point. Also, I believe this gentleman to crack Hootie along with so-and-so was an associate. Keyboard Warrior was referring to. Another commenter. Scott Burnstein is clueless. Another person. Clickbait. Nothing more, nothing less. Burnstein with a completely made-up story. I mean, Scott, at some point you have to say to yourself, like, what am I doing here? This stuff is ridiculous. And then also I had heard too that, in terms of this, I heard people mentioning like, this is, they didn't beat him up bad enough. Or Hootie's talking about, I didn't get beat up bad enough. I guess, Hootie, my question to you would be like, so if they'd have not done anything, you'd have called him a pussy, right? If they'd have, what did you expect? Joey Merlino to sock you in the fucking face? Like, I'm not sure that, like, I don't know that any boss would do that. Like, all bosses have people around them. Like, what do you think? Joe Messino didn't have security around him? You do know that Carlo Gambino had bodyguards, right? Like, I don't understand that thought either. Like, Joey's too much. And listen, we all know, like, I've had like verbal back and forth with Joey and those guys. I don't always agree with everything they do. And I don't agree with what Snuff did. I don't think that was right. Snuff is not a gangster. He's just a regular guy. He was talking shit. He should have been involved, like that he was the one gushing out stuff about Hootie. But like, in terms of Joey, like they're always like, well, why didn't he do anything? And it's like, well, I don't know, because there are people that love him. They will just do it for him. And just like any other, alleged mob guy, like they all have bodyguards. Like, you guys do know that Carlo Gambino had bodyguards, and Paul Castellano had bodyguards, and Chin Gigante had, all these people had bodyguards. Now, some people didn't because they were fucking killers, but like, it's not that hard to believe that an alleged boss didn't get his hands dirty. They don't. That's how it works. And not for nothing, I hate to tell you folks, do you know how many cops are at San Gennaro? By the way, it is an event you can just walk into. So it is important to have a lot of law enforcement there because, again, there is a big problem with these in America, right? I guess some of you guys, and look, I get that doesn't fit the narrative. I don't have no narratives. I just tell you what really happened. And just like the Scott, Chicky, and Pete's fight, he got wrong about 4 or 5 times. I did one video, and the person involved, Kathy Chang, told me how great it was because I was right. Scott, there's certain things that I think you got to dig a little deeper for. And I'm not saying I'm the most liked guy around there because there are people that don't like me, but I did live there. I do know a lot of these people. I do know a lot of the people in the area. I know who to speak to occasionally.